How does a child robbed of his youth construct the most meticulously engineered pop culture illusions in history? And what is the exact psychological price of demanding absolute perfection? To answer that, you have to look at the sheer mathematics of his existence. We are talking about 400 million records sold, making him the most recognizable human being alive. But that global footprint started here in 1958. Gary, Indiana was a loud, segregated steel town where the air smelled of industry and margins for error were razor thin. His father, Joseph, ran the family's musical rehearsals with the strict, unforgiving discipline of a factory floor. If a dance step was missed, the physical correction was immediate. The raw talent was there, but it was drilled into him through sheer, relentless repetition. Joseph Jackson essentially treated the family home as a production line, outputting a highly disciplined professional before his son turned 6. The cost of that early professionalization was steep. He later described never playing in a public park, never attending a school dance, and never having a normal birthday party. When a child spends their entire developmental window in recording studios and hotel rooms, their value becomes tied exclusively to their ability to execute a routine for an audience. This created a lifelong dislocation. He admitted that while he felt entirely self-assured under a spotlight, he felt like a visitor in the real world, as if the person on stage was the only one who actually knew how to exist. The childhood he missed effectively hardwired him into a machine. He couldn't stop performing because the stage was the only environment where his identity felt real. By the early 1980s, the music industry had established strict boundaries. MTV was a nascent network with a rotation that was heavily segregated, largely excluding Black artists from its airwaves. He bypassed those standards by making the music undeniable. He used the massive commercial force of the album Thriller as a battering ram, forcing the network to put tracks like Billie Jean and Beat It into heavy rotation. Instead of shooting standard, cheap promotional clips, he pivoted to producing multi-million-dollar, 14-minute cinematic events. This chart compares his output against the era's industry averages. Thriller held the #1 spot for 37 weeks and produced 7 top 10 singles from a single record. The 1980s music industry had to rewrite its own rulebook to account for him, shifting from low-budget clips to the cinematic, global-scale visual campaigns that define modern pop. That same obsession with control carried over into the physical mechanics of his performances, beginning with the moonwalk. This vector breakdown of the human foot illustrates that the move is not spontaneous magic. It is a meticulously practiced illusion, relying on constant, fluid weight transfer between a flat foot and a sliding toe. But his ultimate display of engineered stage control arrived with the anti-gravity lean in the Smooth Criminal video and subsequent live tours. This cross-section shows the mechanical patent he co-invented, a shoe with a V-shaped heel slot. Retractable stage pegs emerged, sliding into the slot to lock the shoe. Anchored, he leaned forward at a 45-degree angle, appearing to defy physics. He required such total control over his environment that he resorted to literal patents and hidden stage mechanics to enforce his illusion of superhuman perfection. Yet the mathematical precision he commanded on stage was entirely absent from his personal life, which was marked by profound isolation and a glaring lack of control. He purchased Neverland Ranch, a 2,700-acre estate in the Santa Ynez Valley, and filled it with exotic animals and an enormous private movie theater. He spent millions constructing a literal playground for himself, attempting to recreate the milestones of a childhood that he had spent entirely inside recording studios. Immense wealth cannot buy a past. It can only finance a themed fortress, and the walls he built ultimately isolated him even further from reality. Living with that level of global fame meant existing in a space where every interaction is mediated by a pre-existing narrative. People didn't meet a man, they met an image. That image fractured under a barrage of severe allegations, highly publicized trials, and intense media scrutiny that entirely consumed his offstage life. The public demanded the flawless fairy tale under the lights, while simultaneously devouring the tragedy of his private life, effectively trapping him inside his own spectacle. By age 50, his body was battered by prescription drugs and exhaustion as he prepared for a grueling 50-show comeback run called This Is It. Footage from those final rehearsals reveals a striking reality. Despite his severe physical decline, his precision and stage instincts remained remarkably intact. He died suddenly before the tour began from acute propofol intoxication, a lethal attempt to chemically induce sleep so he could maintain those punishing performance standards. He created a blueprint for global stardom that every artist since has followed, but the cost of that perfection was his childhood, his privacy, and ultimately his life.